Hey everybody, welcome back to Review of the Nerds. I'm Vincent.
And I'm Mike, and for this episode we're going to be discussing the spoilers for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. If you guys are interested in listening and watching a non-spoiler review, I did one in the sub-channel here for CineMike, and the link is right down below if you want to check that out. But now moving on, we're going to assume you guys have already seen the movie in our discussions here.
Yeah,
So
I feel like this one had just as many laughs as the first one, if not maybe a few more. I felt like they were able to, as far as the comedy went, they recaptured it. As someone who does stand-up comedy, I'm like, oh, that gets me really going. So yeah, I mean, just as many laughs as the first one, if not more, possibly. Kind of point of maybe a little different depending on how you viewed it. But yeah, I was laughing throughout most of the movie, except for like the few tender moments that they threw in there to kind of break that up, which I appreciate. They got to give the audience a little bit more than just a laugh every once in a while. But yeah, I think what I like most of it, this has just got me just laughing my ass off as much as the first one.
yeah, I mean, I will say that I think that some of the humor suffered because the trailer maybe showed too many of the gags. Like the whole, like, looking for tape during the finale for the bomb gag that we've seen in the trailer over and over again. They have an extended version of that in the movie, and I have to admit that I had seen it so often in the trailer that I was not finding it as funny as I should. It was kind of like, oh, okay, it's that tape gag I've seen 20 million times in the trailers. I felt like the joke kind of played itself out too long.
It kind of still worked for me because once we're in the movie, we see what's going on around them. I feel like the tension just added to the, oh my god, this is what they're arguing about, you know.
There's a couple comedy bits in this that cut into the action and separate the action, right at really heightened moments of tension. Like you have an opening dance number by Groot. You have this big battle going on with this giant creature that we're not even watching because we're seeing him dance, and it's cute, it's funny, but it also doesn't really, have a lot of action connected to it because you can't really see any of the action.
I can understand what you're saying there, Mike, because in the first Guardians of the Galaxy, when we had the opening dance number with Star-Lord, there wasn't anything chaos or destruction going on around him. He was just dancing on like a barren planet, having fun. And with this one, I mean, if you watched our channel before, you know me, I love giant monsters. I love them. And ever since I was a little kid, Godzilla and all that stuff, and just anything big and gigantic, I love it. So I can understand, the taking away from it. But I feel like, I don't know, I just like still...
There is something true.
It wasn't as good as the first opening dance number, I'll say that one.
Yeah, I feel that way too. I think it's just because they're trying to do it yet again. Kind of like, leaning on the formula of what worked in the first one. There's a lot of things where it seemed like they were trying to go, you remember the first movie? Remember that scene? Because they even had an opening flashback to the 80s, just like the first movie had. So there's a lot of things that they were trying to recapture, and I don't know, sometimes that stuff is a little too winky nudge for me. But at the same time, it was a very cute sequence, and there is something that's very different about it, because I don't think traditionally action movies really have humor just cut in the middle of an action scene, and it's like a comedic point of view or perspective on the action that's happening. It's like you're cutting away from what you would traditionally see in a big budget movie, and instead you're seeing a much smaller, more intimate, funny moment, which I guess you've got to give them credit for doing something risky and different, but at the same time there's an element of it that, I don't know, I was kind of like, I'd like to see more of what's going on. Well, here's ultimately how I feel about the humor in this movie, is that the first movie, I literally was just so lost and engrossed in the humor that I never became self-aware or was taken out of the movie to really think about it. This movie had moments where I could feel the filmmaking going on in the humor, and there's moments where I actually stepped outside the movie to think about, hey, does this work in this scene and stuff? So to me, I prefer the humor in the first movie more because it felt more natural to the story. But that said, I did still like the humor a lot in this movie. It's still great fun.
Oh yeah, totally.
Funniest moment of the whole movie.
Oh.
Mary Poppins, yo!
Oh my god, that was awesome. Oh my god, I love that scene was great. Oh man.
Yeah, there's a scene where Yondu and Star-Lord are escaping from this explosion, and they both Star-Lord has a jetpack, I guess,
on, right.
and Yondu's using his little arrow whistle thing,
yeah.
And he's coming down, and then Star looks at him, he's like, you're like Mary Poppins. He's like, is Mary Poppins cool? And then he's like, yeah, he's pretty cool. And then he
looks at everybody, I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. Oh my god, that's already a meme, and I see people doing memes and fan art of that already. I saw it on a Thursday night, and by Friday morning, I was already seeing memes all over the place. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I love Michael Rooker. I think he's so classic. It's interesting because I think that oftentimes he's brought into projects as a side character, but there's something so lovable about him that he ends up becoming a more expanded character. Like in Walking Dead, he was originally just brought in as the brother of Daryl, and he didn't have a great deal to do at first, but his role got really expanded in one of the later seasons. In this, he was just kind of a thorn in the side for Star-Lord and, all that, but then they really expanded his role, and, they really built up this whole kind of father dynamic he has with Star-Lord and stuff in this.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, he's a good actor. He's got a little bit of rough exterior charisma to him going on. The dude's a career actor. I remember seeing him in movies, every once in a while over the past 20 years. And so it's nice. It's always kind of cool to see somebody who's been in the industry for a long time now, finally, they're getting recognized for their talents. And I think that's really cool. So I'm happy for Michael Rourke.
Yeah, Rooker.
Rooker. Sorry, I always screw that up. Damn it.
You want to say the lessons again?
No, I admit to my faults.
Okay. Yeah, I actually listened to a Q&A with him where he talked about how his giant new Mohawk fin, he talked about how that was always like bumping into doorways and stuff like that, but he said that he really loved it. Yeah, he was one of the surprises in this movie for me. I mean, I loved him in the first movie, but in this movie they really took him deeper, and he has some really touching scenes at the very end. I mean, spoiler, but he dies.
Yondu! No!
Yeah, and he dies in this really touching moment where the whole thing's been a search for Peter to find his father, and, Ego turns out to be a piece of shit, obviously. So
I named Ego's a piece of shit, surprise.
Yeah, it's kind of like he had his real father under his nose all along and he never really realized it. And, oh man, like he basically saves Peter's life by putting this like a
force field suit that attaches on there.
Yeah, but then Peter has to watch him like slowly die in the vacuum of space, and it's really, really sad and touching. And I thought it worked really well, but I'm really bummed out that we're not getting any more Yondu in a third movie.
Yeah, especially now after this one. Now the one thing about this movie that I also really enjoyed, everybody in this movie is either finding out something about themselves or just revealing something. Like they're like finally come to terms with something about themselves, or with like Rocket, you got the whole like him like admitting that how much he he feels that everyone's just going to leave him. That's why he does stuff. Because it's kind of like a Goodwill Hunting. He's going to push people away before they can push him away.
He's paired with the Yondus. There's a lot of parallels between both of their personalities because they both have this kind of like F you attitude, but deep down they really care.
Yeah, yeah. The only really, Gamora is going got what's going on with her and her sister.
Yeah, Nebula's another character that surprisingly got expanded and there's a lot of depth added to her and stuff.
Everybody gets expanded in this movie, and it's all stuff that was already kind of like set up, but didn't really. Dug deep into in the first movie, just Nebula's relationship with Gamora, or Gamora's relationship with Nebula. That whole thing is just expanded on. And
there's some touching moments there too. I mean, the scene where she hugs her at the end. Karen Gillian, I'm impressed with you. I don't know if you would watch our videos, but if you do, I'm impressed with you. Watching her go from what she does in Doctor Who to that, it's such an incredibly different character, the way she speaks, the way she. Moves, and she had a lot of emotion in her performance.
Yeah, she's always in a constant state of anger and rage and frustration and irritation. She never drops it, except for that she kind of drops a little bit during the hug scene. But beyond that, she's always so tense and just like, wants revenge or just, payback. And it was actually kind of an interesting way they show why she hates Gamora. It's not just she was Daddy's favorite. It's that Gamora never had her back. And because she's always just trying to survive their father, Gamora always had to be the best because she was so afraid, but she never really took into consideration what her own survival was doing to her sister.
Yeah, literally Nebula was being torn apart by her father to try to make a better fighting buddy for Gamora.
Yeah, he wanted them to be equals, but Gamora always talked to her, and every time Gamora talked to her, he augmented her a little bit more, and every time, he grabbed them when they were kids, so imagine a little girl, him cutting her friggin' arm off and putting a robot, that's...
Honestly, there's a point in when Nebula was telling her this that I was kind of like, damn, I kind of feel like I'm on Nebula's side.
Yeah, weird, right? Because up until now, Nebula's just like a cold-hearted bitch, but now she's like, God damn it, this bitch has layers now. Fuck.
Yeah, there's a moment where I kind of felt like I sympathize more with her than Gamora now, I think. Which I guess it's good writing. I think there is some little hiccups a little bit because I think there is some changes in the characters that maybe I don't know if they planned on taking them as far as they did in this movie. Like, for instance, we talked about how Yondu, I'm pretty sure that Yondu was planning on killing Peter in the first movie when he had the arrow to his throat. I mean, because he did turn his back and he was about to whistle to complete the act of killing him. But in this movie, he basically dies for him. So, you know, there is maybe, they maybe didn't totally have it completely planned ahead of time, but there's enough planted seed-wise in the first movie to make it somewhat believable, the transition. And yeah, you know, basically what we're getting at here, though, is that this is a very character-driven movie to the point where the plot is, I think, to some degree sacrificed. The movie is about the characters. It's not really about the plot. You know, and that has pros and cons to it. The pro is that, you know, you have a lot going on here with these characters. There's a lot of growth, there's a lot of development, there's a lot of, you know, things going on there. But, you know, as I mentioned to you, I think that one of the things that suffers the most is that there's not really a focus. I mean, like, you have a lot of subplots and there's a lot of plots
going on. I'll give that. There's might be a little bit too much going on in this one.
It's not really cohesive. There's things happening all over the place, and none of this really ties or connects together until the last 30 minutes where it's revealed, shock upon shock, that Ego is the villain, which I'm not sure why the advertisements or why the movie kind of tried to withhold that. It's kind of like, yeah, it's kind of obvious he was going to be the bad guy. You weren't really... It's not like an M. Night Shyamalan twist or anything. I mean, this movie, if you watch the trailers, they made it seem as though the gold people were the bad guys, which they're not really. As a matter of fact, the gold people are
They're secondary antagonists.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like they were just there to cause space battles and stuff. I mean,
pretty much.
You know, don't get me wrong, there's some entertainment value with them, like how they have the kind of like surrogate connection with like these ships, you know, how like they play in like video games and stuff like that, and they don't really have any personal risk, like they're just having these drones go out to do their battles for them, which, you know, there's some...
Drone warfare, yeah, they touched upon that.
There you go, it's relevant.
Not really. Anyway.
Well, I was just joking, but yeah, I mean, but to get back to the original point, though, is that the thing that the first movie had is that it had a central villain that was pushing the narrative forward, whereas this movie, there is no central villain really pushing the narrative, it's just a bunch of things happening, and then eventually it all ties together, but...
Yeah. And there was a goal from the very beginning of the movie, from, you know, right after Star-Lord finished doing his dance, he gets that Infinity Stone, and then everything else is happening around because that Infinity Stone.
It's like a MacGuffin.
Yeah.
It's driving the story. Yeah. Yeah, this movie doesn't really have that, and I think that's where it suffers slightly a little bit. You know, Kurt Russell's great and everything. I mean, I love Kurt Russell. Who doesn't love Kurt Russell?
I love Kurt Russell.
Yeah, I mean...
Snake Plissken.
Hell yeah, Escape from New York. I mean, come on. Great choice to be Star-Lord's dad. I mean, the fact that, like, Peter is he's so obsessed with 1980s culture. I mean, to have Kurt Russell, who's a huge 1980s icon, to be his father, great casting choice. They had great chemistry together. And he played, you know, it well. It's just that, you know, it's kind of seriously like, he's like, Peter, I'm the bad guy. And then suddenly Peter shoots him, and then suddenly he's a giant CGI face for a little while, and then they fight a bit, and then he dies. I feel like he never really got enough screen time to really be the villain, but the one thing I really liked about his villain, and this is the one thing that surprised me, nothing about him surprised me. You know, we've seen this before about the whole, something that thinks that they're God wanting to destroy the universe to recreate in their image. We've seen that tons of times.
Yeah.
But the one thing that surprised me was the cave filled with the skeletons of all the attempts he made to have offspring.
Yeah.
That was dark. I liked that.
Yeah. You think he just wanted to... Considering that cave, and he's a living planet, so when you really think about it, that cave is kind of like just a pore on his skin, and he's just keeping skeletons in one of his pores. Or maybe it's his nostril. I don't know. We really didn't get a sense of what the geography could be. His belly button. I don't know. Either which way you cut it, it's just friggin' weird.
You put more thought into the biology of his planet than I
really
did.
took more. I should have stopped a while back. But anyway, yeah.
But yeah, that was dark. I was, and especially a movie that's so light and funny. That really, I have to admit, they did make up for some lost time there, because that was really villainous. Like, that was really like, oh shit. Yeah. You know, and then you find out about him giving his mother cancer.
Yeah, that was like I was like, what? Like he already, he doesn't have to, like, there's nothing in the story that says he had to give her cancer. I mean, he basically abandoned her, and he's going to use this woman's son to, like, conquer the universe. He doesn't need to give her cancer, but he did.
He was like, I was afraid if I didn't, that I'd fall in love with her and I wouldn't complete my mission. Yeah. It's like, and he says it so casually, like so psychopathic, you know. And then when Peter's like, you gave my mother cancer. Like, Peter, Peter, I know how it sounds. You know, it's like, yeah, it sounds fucking psychotic.
Yeah, it's like, it reminds me like in Avengers where, like, you know, Nick Fury tells Loki, he's like, we don't have a quarrel with your people, and you know, Loki's like, an ant doesn't have a quarrel with a boot. It's like, he's got that kind of like, that same mentality that Loki did in Avengers. It's like, I'm a god, you guys are just people.
Well,
I'm gonna step on you.
Even less than people,
yeah.
like insects or something.
Yeah.
I mean, but at the same time, though, he was a little confusing because he did say he loved her, but I don't understand. It's very because he doesn't.
I got a feeling he has a different definition of love.
But does he? Isn't his plan to destroy every life in the galaxy? Kind of.
I don't know whether it's to destroy. He just wants everything to be him.
He plants these little seeds on all these worlds, and basically when the light energy is released, they basically become this giant blob that eats up everything around it. It looks like he was going to destroy all life out there, basically.
I don't think it's a good idea for us to assume he has same kind of emotions that a normal human does. I think you gotta remember he's literally millions of years old.
Well, I feel like they never really laid down his motivations that really made them make sense to me, because like there are certain godlike characters like him where the motivation is just simply that they think that that life forms are too selfish, too violent to live. But everything he said about people was actually pretty complimentary. I mean, he kept saying he loved our music, he loved our culture, he fell in love with women, so he sounded like he kind of liked us. So I'm not sure why he decided he wanted to kill everything.
I think we were the flavor of the week for him. Like, while he was on Earth, he got a kick out of it, but like, and plus he probably just had a lot of that to relate to Peter, considering...
Well, some of it might have been lies. I don't know.
Plus,
but
remember, his name's Ego. He's just really egotistical. He just thinks, wow, the universe would be a lot better if I was the whole universe. I think that's just kind of what it is.
This planet kind of remind you of a Dr. Seuss planet, too. Some of the CGI in this movie I felt was a little much.
Yeah. All the landscapes in the movie are beautiful to look at, but at the same time, I was like, wow, that's beautiful. That's a lot of CGI, though. That's really nice looking. There's a lot of CGI, though. Like, it was kind of, I was really bouncing back and forth, because it was very colorful, like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies are. They got the whole color, like, oh, blues and reds and different shades and such and all that stuff. But at the same time, I was like, I know they're on a giant green screen set. It was like, I'm trying to enjoy it because the visuals are great. Because they had that one weird fountain where it's just a bunch of fish going in circles. And I was like, that was kind of cool looking. Yeah, and all the colors and the bubbles and like, ha ha. But at the same time, I was like, oh, the only thing that's real in this shot are those steps.
I feel like the more practical stuff could have benefited a little bit.
Yeah.
But, you know, effects look good for CGI. It's just that I would have liked a little more practical. We also have Mantis, who I liked. I think I had some trouble understanding her motivations for turning on Ego completely, just because she was taken at birth, you know, and she even credited Ego. She said, he saved my life, I owe him everything. Yeah. For her to have obviously been witness to him doing a lot of these things before, to suddenly, I don't know, out of nowhere betray him, I felt like I understand she was developing her friendship with Drax, but I felt like it just wasn't enough to completely motivate her turn.
I think what the turning point for her was her one scene with Drax, when it's like, after the first time she like uses her empathic powers on him, and he's thinking about his wife and daughter who were killed by Ronan, and she touches him. I think she had never felt such deep emotion for in that kind of pain, because Ego doesn't feel like that. He could never offer up.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that scene. I think that they could have done more to make that more clear. That's the moment where it turned. Yeah. But I think you're right, though. That does make a lot of sense. Yeah. I just don't think... I think the movie needed to put a little more focus on that moment, and maybe have her decide, maybe make it more clear she chose in that moment to turn on Ego.
Yeah.
But yeah, good point. You know, speaking of Drax and the original cast, we haven't talked about any of them yet. You can sum it all up with one thing: they were fantastic.
They were all on their top A game.
Yeah,
they had Chris Pratt, Dave Bautista, Zoe Saldana,
Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, Bradley Cooper, and Mr. Vin Diesel as Baby Groot.
In my actual review, I mentioned this. I really feel like Vin Diesel gets way too much more credit than he deserves for playing Baby Groot, because all he does is say, I am Groot. If you look into the making of stuff, or if you hear, you know, any stories, it sounds like he's not at all involved in the production, he's not there on set, he's not doing any of the face capture stuff, he's just simply supplying I am Groot. So I feel like it's just, I don't know, I really just don't feel like he deserves that much credit, personally. I feel like the animators deserve credit, I feel like James Gunn deserves credit. I think that Groot is cute and awesome because of them, not because of Vin Diesel. And honestly, anybody could say I am Groot and be cute saying it if you put it through the right synthesizer. I just feel like he doesn't do enough to really warrant needing to be in this movie. I feel you could have any actor be Groot, his voice, and it wouldn't really matter.
You're not too far off, man.
So, yeah. But anyways, Baby Groot is adorable. Okay, I mean, that's undeniable. He's absolutely...
I'm excited for Teenage Groot.
Yes, I think that's going to be pretty cool. I do think someone did point out that Baby Groot is kind of a merchandising, thing.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize how much they were gonna play him up. I mean, technically, apparently, this movie, Volume 2, takes place only 3 months after the events of Volume 1, from what I've been told, which is why Groot's still in baby form. Because I remember seeing the first trailer for this, and I was like, oh my god, the trailer, it looks like it's going to be great. But why is Groot still in baby size? I mean, it's been like 2.5, 3 years since the first one came out. Why is he still like baby? And that's why. I'm starting to wonder if they decided the timeline based on the fact that we wanted Baby Groot in there.
I think he was cute. I mean, it's hard to deny that. He made me smile till my mouth hurt. I mean, he was great in a sense, but yeah, there is obviously, you can kind of take yourself out of the movie and go, he really is just there because they want to sell a lot of toys. I mean, that's true. So, I don't know. I have mixed feelings, I guess, about that, but at the end of the day, I had a lot of fun watching him.
Yeah.
Rocket Raccoon, he's obviously great. I mean, you can't even tell it's Bradley Cooper's voice. He changed his voice so much.
If it wasn't the fact that I already knew it was Bradley Cooper, I honestly wouldn't know who. I would just assume they got like a noted voice actor to take care of him or something. But no, Bradley Cooper. I love the way he disguises his voice. He really, I mean, it doesn't sound like him at all. It fools me. By the time this movie started, they've already established that they all care about each other. Where in the first movie, they're all getting to know each other and whether or not. But it's pretty much from the beginning of the movie how they all feel about each other. I mean, it's like completely hammered in by the end of the movie. Drax views these people as his friends and family. So I understand why he's having a little more happy moments, because there are times where they're screwing around with each other and making fun or playing pranks. He's just into it. This is his family. This is what family does. I think it makes more sense that he's laughing more in this one than the last one. His laugh is pretty big and fun. His
laugh is guttural and joyful, and it's awesome to listen to.
So the one thing that confused me is just based on the physical ability we see in the first movie, is when right after Nebula crashes the one ship to try to kill Gamora, and they're fighting, and Gamora picks up the Gatling cannon that's the size of a fucking rhinoceros. I didn't realize Gamora was that strong. I knew she was very agile. I knew she was stronger than a normal human. But I didn't realize she was that strong. She's like Captain America or higher level strong.
If she was that strong, then when she was fighting Star-Lord in the first movie, how'd she not punch his head off?
I mean, don't get me wrong. It was really badass to see her pick that thing up and just... That was badass. But I was like... She's just as strong as Drax then. Because I always viewed Drax as he's just a muscle guy of the group. But now we find out, no, Gamora's got the muscle too. I mean, once again, I knew she was strong. I just didn't know she was that strong.
I do feel like they upped her strength level a lot there. That might be a little out of continuity. Because it didn't seem like she was that strong in the first movie. Because Peter was able to overpower her sometimes. I mean, they were fighting and he was holding his own against her, physically.
And if anybody knows Gamora from the comics, if she's that strong in the comics, let us know down in the comments. We would honestly like to know.
Peter Quill, played by Chris Pratt, is that I do feel like in this one it's weird. He was more central in a sense, but also another way, I feel like he had less screen time than the original. I did feel like he was maybe a little more in the background in some ways, because he was so busy kind of being swept away and seduced by his father that a lot of other stories were playing out while he was kind of stuck in that cloud.
In the first one, we meet all the characters through him. We start with him, we meet Yondu because of him, we meet Gamora because she's trying to run into him, take the stone. We meet Rocket and Groot because they're doing bounty hunting and they're after Gamora and Peter. And we meet Drax because Peter gets sent to jail, and that's when him and Drax bump into each other. We meet everybody through Peter. He's
Dorothy.
Yeah, he's Dorothy. Yeah. I'm just picturing him on the yellow.
But yeah, I mean, he in this movie he's much less central, even though in a sense he's more central. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I mean, and another thing that's noteworthy is that they did change his origin in this movie from the comics. In the comics, his father's Jason, who is actually like a prince or something like that. It's a very political story in the comics. And I don't know why they decided to change it to Ego being his father in this. It is it is a really drastic change because, Peter in the comics is not a god, but in this one he's basically a demigod. I mean, he basically is the son of a god.
Even though by the end of this movie, because they do destroy Ego, he really doesn't have any powers, which would explain why, I mean, it all explains in the first movie why, he was able to hold on to the Infinity Stone and not die. Yeah. I mean, they say in this movie that, as long as, Ego tells him, as long as I exist, as long as the light at the center of my body exists, you can't die. Explains why he can touch the Infinity Stone. Even explains that one scene where, like, Gamora is drifting in space and he puts his mask on her and why he didn't die from being exposed to space.
So you think they should have made a bigger deal about that, discussing at a time, like, why didn't I die? So we have 5 post-credit scenes to this movie.
Yeah.
I felt that some of them were okay, some of them were, I don't know. I didn't feel like they all were worthy. For one thing, continuity error. The second to Yondu is playing around with his fin mohawk and with the arrow. Yeah. That was on Yondu when he got incinerated. He shouldn't even have that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe have no, he can't have a backup because it was a prototype. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was funny to see Drax kind of take a hit, but.
And then we obviously have this suggested spin-off with Sylvester Stallone, which I'm not sure if
Ving Rhames and Michelle Yeoh. So.
Which I'm not sure if I give a shit, to be honest. I mean, Expendables in space. I don't know if I need that.
I don't know, man. I think it's just still Sylvester Stallone trying to ride that train of, I'm really old, but I can still kick ass, or at least that's what my fans think, so why not let them keep thinking it? That's the worst Sylvester Stallone impression.
It was bad. It's a record number of post-credit scenes.
Yeah, I was like, I remember when I saw it in the theater, there were people already starting to leave, and then they'd stop, and they'd be like, oh, what's this? Okay, see, now we can leave. And they start rolling, and like, wait, what's this? Oh, yeah, teenage group. Okay, that's fun. Okay, we gotta go, son. It's past your bedtime. Wait, what's this? Like, I don't know. They kept. It was like Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. It's like the lights, the goes fades to black. And like, no, wait, we got some more.
I did like the Groot teenager thing. That was funny.
Yeah. I love how apparently Peter can now understand him. I guess at this point,
that came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
because I thought it was only Rocket that could understand him. I guess he's caught on after a while. I don't know how you catch on, but
I don't know. How does Han Solo talk to Chewbacca? I don't know. We're just gonna run with it.
Yeah, and obviously setting up who a potential future villain can be.
Adam Warlock.
Yeah.
Which I think it has been announced that he's going to be the villain in the third one.
And it's also been announced the third one's going to be the final in a trilogy. They said that if there was any films after that it would take a whole different... Which might be where they're going with Sylvester Stallone. He might be taking over the franchise after the third one.
I mean, like many other superhero teams, the Guardians of the Galaxy, from what I understand, they've had members switch in and out. Like, it's not always Gamora, Star-Lord, Drax, Groot, Rocket Raccoon. Though a few of them are like the central Guardians. Future films, it could be a new set of Guardians, or there could be a different team. Either way, I don't think it'd be bad if they finished it out on a trilogy.
I mean, they could keep going. I mean, I think these characters are colorful and entertaining enough to watch where you could keep doing it. And as long as James Gunn is involved in some way and just overseeing, creatively. Despite the criticisms I have in this movie, I mean, it is a worthy sequel. It is, as fun as the first in some ways. I mean, I prefer the first one a little bit more, but it is a relatively close race.
I'll watch it again. I'll watch it several times more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm planning on checking it out again before it leaves theaters. And, looking forward to the third one. And also, they're going to appear in Avengers Infinity War. Yeah. I'm wondering how the hell they're going to make room for them. But, I don't know. Maybe,
they're splitting up into 2 movies. It's going to be... I mean, I hear, the Guardians and the Avengers might be butting heads a lot. And they might actually, despite the fact, have the same goal. It's going to be actually, working against each other for some reason. I've heard stuff like that. I have heard, and this made Dave Bautista very happy because he's been wanting this. There is going to be a scene where Drax and Iron Man interact, and Bautista has been wanting that because he thinks it would just be hilarious, and the fact that he really is a fan of Robert Downey Jr. So that's going to be a lot of... I'm looking for that scene.
Hopefully he just, slaps him in the face, because Tony Stark has been a total idiot for the last few movies.
Yeah. Well, anyway, guys, thank you for watching our spoiler review/discussion. We hope you liked it. Let us know what you're thinking down in the comments. Leave us a like, and please subscribe to our channel here. But until next time, I'm Vincent.
I am Groot.
And this has been Review the Nerds.
I'm actually Mike. Just so you know, in case you guys are wondering.
Yeah.
Bye.
I'm actually Mary Poppins, yo.